That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
I was hoping the rest of that was in there. It wasn't just the beginning of it, because it did almost get out of hand. But you know what? It didn't, and they won. So why are all these people angry about it? Yeah, it didn't look great when they were up 5-1, and all of a sudden it was 5-4, and you got nervous. But they won. They won. And that's the point of the game. Anyway, we'll get into all this today, the DLS Stars podcast. And we have a special guest from Denver, Conor McGahey, the radio play-by-play voice of the Colorado Avalanche, will join us segment 3 maybe. Sean's here. Sam's here. Luds is not. Let's start the show. This is the DLS Stars podcast on Friday, October 10th, here in the Lounge Studios. Sam Nessler, I'm Owen Newkirk, our producer Ryan Vaughters. Sean Shapiro joins us remotely from his compound in suburban Detroit. And no Luds today, because he is on a plane flying to Chicago for his U18 tournament weekend. He's going to do our show tomorrow night remotely. Then I think he misses Monday. Then he's back for Tuesday's home opener. Before we get into all of the fun today, let's talk about two quick things. One, ball knower bonus. Boy, if you're a Cowboys fan in Dallas, you can really cash in and DLLS merch, because Cowboys play the Panthers, and that's one of the ball knower bonus options this week. Pick the winner of that game, spend at least $25 on merch. You'll get a gift card if you get it right for the amount you spent, between $25 and $250. So definitely take advantage of that. And by the way, Diehard sale still going on only through Sunday night. Whether it's getting the $36 discounted annual subscription plus a free t-shirt, or $59, you get the subscription and a branded Bills DLLS hat. Those are the two options. We've never had the hat option before as part of the Diehard. You get that. You get 20% off merch. You get all the other benefits of being a Diehard. Get that ball knower bonus. Scan the QR code, alldls.com/intro. Look at those ball knower branded Bills hats there. We got the Moose hat just tucked in here today. I love it. Oh, he was pretty good last night. All right. Sean, Sam, myself, we have Conor McGahey from the Colorado Avalanche radio broadcast. He's their play-by-play guy. He's going to join us in segment 3 today. But right now we need to talk about last night. Why not? Stars are 1-0 after beating the Winnipeg Jets on the road. Sean was not on our post-game show, so it's always fun when we can find Sean's 2 cents and throw them up on the screen. So, Sean, let's start with that. Let's go right to the goaltender, because we always like to lean on you for an expert on goalie stuff. Jake Ottinger got a win, celebrated his 150th career NHL regular season victory. Sam, you pointed out the milestone of fastest for a U.S. goalie?
Fastest U.S.-born goalie, yep.
How about that? Not bad. However, I'd say work in progress this year for a guy that we expect to be at least challenging for a Vezina trophy.
Well, I think one of the key takeaways from this is, look what happened at the other end, where the guy that Jake is supposed to be challenging for a Vezina trophy and a starting gig at the Olympics for Team USA, it was the 5-4 game probably wasn't the pregame prediction anyone made for those two in net. So I think I always kind of watched a lot of games last night. I went back. I watched the Detroit-Montreal game in person yesterday. Came home, watched a lot of flipped through a bunch of the games, watched the first 2 periods of the Dallas game last night, watched the third period this morning, then rewatched through it. And one of the things that's always fascinating from a goalie perspective early in the season is some guys are slow starters. Some guys take a minute to get up to the speed of the game, take a second to things that they didn't deal with in preseason. And I'm not going to be an apologist for Jake Ottinger in game one, but I am going to take a look at what happened in game one and look at that and be like, if this is a game one problem, that's okay. If these are game 10 problems, if these are game 25 problems, then we have a deeper conversation. But for me, in a vacuum, that third period is a great example of you need to save one of those two goals, right? Like, and we can kind of go through some of the dynamics of both of those, whether it's the kind of the rebound on the first Connor goal, where I think it's a great play by Kyle Connor to kind of intentionally create the rebound on the shot and everything and go there, but Jake needs to be a little bit more of an athlete there. And then the fourth one, he's completely square and gets beat clean on that. Those are two where if you let up one of those, I'm kind of like, okay, that's fine. We can live with that. It's when both of those happen, you kind of need the save. So, um, it's Jake is gonna get going and he's gonna have to figure things out. All the goalies are. There was some. You could be what happened in San Jose, and we could have a lot more problems right now.
More on that later.
Knows what happened yeah, more on what happened with Alex Nedeljkovic later. But that is that's where I look at that. Where this was the building block, the stumbling block for Jake. They still won. He never apologized for a win in the NHL, right? Like I think maybe the DLS account tweeted that. Sam, maybe I don't know. The piece of knowledge.
You never apologize for a win in the NHL. Period.
Exactly. And so
but you can also criticize the play, but you don't apologize. You got the win. Yeah. You found a way.
Yes, exactly. And so that's that's I think that's the biggest takeaway for me on all of this is you found a way to win. And unlike some teams across the league who, after a game or two, are coming out with problems that seem unfeasible to fix, the Stars are at least problems that like, all right, these are just tweaks. You know, there's going to be a pretty intensive pretty intensive power play discussion about how we don't allow shorthanded goals. You know that there's going to be a good conversation between Jeff Reese and Jake Ottinger. There's probably going to be a discussion with the equipment guys of what happened to Shamiro's skates. Why did he fall multiple times? There's going to be some fun, conversations you can kind of laugh at right now before you play the Avalanche tomorrow night. And I think that's okay.
Well, interesting you say that. Let's hear from Glenn Gulletson in the post-game comments about how he felt this performance was.
It's exactly kind of, not how you want to draw it up, but it's what you expect a little bit. I talked to you guys before. Nothing mimics the first round of playoffs more, in my opinion, than the first 5-6 games of the season. Everybody's juiced up. There's a lot of energy in the buildings. Everybody's healthy for the most part. And there's a lot of energy, and the games can get a little crazy, and that's what happened tonight. But it's a good lesson for us. It's okay now. You get the 2 points, but 5-1 in the third, playing a very good game, and we got a little overzealous with offense, trying to make it 6 when you got to take some money off the table there, and we kind of left our goalie out to dry. 3 breakaways. That's tough, especially when we controlled most of the play. That just can't happen. But there's a lesson there for us, right? And fortunately, we get to learn it with 2 points and not the other way around. They're too good of a team to, you can't be all in.
So, Sam, you brought this up yesterday. Do you call off the Dogs when you have a 5-1 lead and try to protect that a little bit more? I say you try to score that because you haven't really had a lot of time on power play. You work on that. It's important time and reps early in the season. But as Lud said, 4-on-3 is not 5-on-3. And you have to be more careful than forcing stuff. And that Morgan Barron goal flipped everything. And as Sean pointed out, you still went into the President's Trophy winning team on the road in a very tough building, and you beat them. Granted, they had some injuries, but you found a way, even if it wasn't the 5-1 route that we were all excited for after 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, we've seen, in sports in general, not just even hockey, you defend too much or you play a little too passive when you have a lead, it can cost you very quickly. The Stars-Canucks game was a perfect example of that last year. But you can also still push and be a little bit safe, right? Using a football reference, if you are in a 3-score lead, you're probably not throwing that deep post into double coverage that you may throw if you're chasing the game. That's just as simple. It doesn't need to be, let's just run the ball up the middle and punt it 3 times. And for hockey, You don't
Yes.
just need to dump it in and chase it every single time, but you do need to play a little smarter. You're not in a 6-on-5 scenario where you need to score that goal and you have to try to get that puck on net. The pass from, I think it was Duchesne that led to that breakaway.
Yeah, he's trying to just be
Get
really
up
cute. And
and-
usually he gets those through.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's just that's the kind of scenario where you go, I probably don't need to throw this because it could cost us, and that's what we saw, and it ended up pushing him. But as I think Mike was trying to get this angle from everybody in post game last night, Mike Heika or someone from the Winnipeg, whoever was kept asking, is it
About
good
the
to have some of this
adversity? Yeah.
adversity? No one was answering.
Nobody
it,
jumped
but
on it.
in a way, yes, you get the first game. You got everything in that first game. You got to play with the lead. You got to play with a big lead. You got to play trying to hold on to a tight lead. You got a lot of things to learn from game one. And as Sean said, you don't hold too much against them in game one of 82.
So Gully had a question in the post game I thought was interesting because we talked a little bit about line juggling, and I'll give it to Sean in a second. But here's what Gully said about mixing up his groups during the game last night.
Yeah, no, you got to move things around, and I think you run the risk sometimes of changing it too much, which I thought even in my head I was going to try to be careful of, but I did like some of the things I saw, and some of the combinations actually did work and connected. So, we'll continue to do that, but probably add a little bit more stability as we go.
You were trying to keep tabs of the who was playing with who. Some of it was special teams and mixing it up. Some of it was they're just not totally sure yet.
Yeah, there's going to be, and I asked Luds this I said, when do you think that we'll start to see this team really find its game? And like, it could be game 30 before we know what the pairings are.
It might be his favorite game 62
or 62, as he loves to talk about. It's going to be this way in terms of their style, their structure, their systems, and it's also going to be this way with a bunch of new faces to Glenn Goldson to try to figure out what works. And they're missing some key guys, not just for injury right now.
That's a good point.
But
Sean, missing Jamie Benn does throw off their original plans quite a bit.
I mean, throws off your original plans, but it's not like, oh, well, he was gone for one game. I mean, it's been, how long has it been since
A couple weeks.
how long they've known? Yeah, they've known he was going to be out for a couple weeks, so they've known that. They know, he's going to be out for 4 to 8 weeks. So I don't really buy, like, I don't think Jamie Benn not being there is an excuse that isn't even worth going down right now. I just think it was the first game. It was two good teams. It was the Jets, and I thought there was some really high-skilled players who, in Mikko Rantanen and Kyle Connor last night, who somehow looked like bargains at $12 million last night. So, like, I don't really go down the whole Jamie Benn not being there. I do think there is a key element here for Glenn Goldson. I think there's something healthy. I know Hikes was probably the one trying to ask about the adversity question. I do think there is something healthy for the Stars coaching staff to have a win like this where there's teachable moments, but it's not like, oh, we can just stick with everything and just basically just run the tape back like we can for just basically do the exact same thing on Saturday night. They know they can't do that. I think I don't know about if adversity is the right thing, but I think it's a coaching tool, right? Like, obviously you'd love to go win 8-0 every game, of course, but I think adversity once you take what you have in front of you, you can use that silver lining to really build for another game that's going to be an emotional one. I mean, think about we often talk about, oh my God, Mikko Rantanen going back to Colorado last year was a big deal. Just think about his first trip back to Colorado on Saturday night, and we're probably you might even ask our guest about it later.
Oh yes,
the first one back since they all watched what he did in the third period of Game 7. So I think these are all good things, and you won the game, and you take it and go.
All right, before we get to the ad break, let's hear from Rantanen on what Sean was just talking about the play last night.
5-on-5, really good game. I think we were really good 5-on-5, defending and offensively playing well. But obviously, third period, especially power play, we gotta be more careful. They're looking for breaks like that, and we gave them 2 easy ones. So, but we learn from it and go forward.
He said it again later when the guy asked about adversity. He almost gave a verbatim answer. He said he thought that the 5-on-5 and penalty kill won him the hockey game. Yep. He said our power play was okay, but we gave him 2. And he said we can't do that. You can't give up 2 shorthanded goals. But he's right, Sean. 5-on-5, the Stars were the better team last night. And Scott Arniel said after the game he wasn't happy with about 50 minutes of the way his team played.
I mean, if you're Winnipeg, isn't there more of the referendum of disaster right now? I mean, I'm sure we could probably check in with our friends in Winnipeg on that. If you're the Jets, you get the home opener. It's the home opener. The buildings pumping and everything like that. You've got the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year. You've got all of this going, and Connor Hellebuck lets up 5 goals, which is pretty much unheard of for the league MVP from last season. You get rocked at 5-on-5. You don't do much on the power play at all. So if you're Winnipeg, if you're kind of taking the two sides out of this, and if we're doing a show like this in Winnipeg right now, there very much is the Chicken Little drop that is actually worthwhile potentially.
The sky is not falling.
Exactly, but in Winnipeg, all of a sudden, there's a lot to kind of take from that. And I mean, really, my biggest takeaway from Winnipeg last night was one guy showed why he's worth $12 million per year, probably even more, in Kyle Connor. He was a game breaker. But if you take Kyle Connor's game out of it, Stars win this game running away, and we're not even talking about, oh my God, did they struggle in the third? Like, That was Kyle Connor had a superstar moment, and it wasn't enough because the Stars were a much better team.
All right, we'll talk more about this in our pregame show tomorrow, getting ready for Stars and Avs. But up next, let's talk about this arena thing that came up last week. Are the Stars really moving out of downtown Dallas in the next 5 years?
You know what I hate, Owen?
What's that, Sam?
Spreadsheets.
Really?
Spreadsheets are boring.
I
to
like
me.
spreadsheets.
No, so
There's
boring
organizational flow.
If you want to keep track of your finances, we got a way where you will never have to use spreadsheets again, and that is with Monarch Money. Monarch Money makes it super, super simple to lay out all of your accounts, investments, your credit cards, your 401k, everything financial in your life in one place in a simple, easy to read, easy to use, and easy to understand way. Monarch Money helped me to just put everything in one place because we got a lot going on. It's hard enough remembering Netflix passwords. You don't need to try to remember all the different spreadsheets. So use Monarch Money just to simplify your finances because financial goals can feel out of reach if you don't have a clear picture. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code DLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year. monarchmoney.com with the code DLLS.
All right, Sam, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't start bringing this up to Sean. He's going to rant about this later, but there are no NHL games tonight, so you can't go on Prize Picks and play NHL. But I'm sure that there's plenty of other fun sports action that you can get into, things where you can, of course, win because you have the knowledge. You can build it very easily. It's more or less on 2 or more player stats. I think it's 2 to 6 to build your lineup. Prize Picks. Yeah, I know I'm over there, but I'm also over here. To get action on, it works in more than 40 plus states for football with things like California, Texas, Georgia, you name it. And it's the only app that offers stacks, which means you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. That is really cool. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code DLLS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code DLLS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Nice. As you looked there, 8 changed.
Can't win. Okay. The Dallas Stars have been in downtown Dallas since the team moved from Minnesota in 1993. They were in Reunion Arena at the start, and then in 2001, they switched to American Airlines Center.
This is going to sound stupid, but I wasn't here. Where was Reunion Arena?
Very close to here, but
it was
not
like downtown area.
Yeah,
like
it was
right
in
here.
downtown Dallas, correct. And aside from the fact that Reunion was, and people still talk about the lore of how loud it was, people were on top of it. It didn't have what they call modern amenities, not as many, the suites, the
Zero
extra
suites.
VIP stuff.
0 suites.
Right.
Wow.
It didn't have all the stuff that you use as extra sources of revenue. Look, salary caps go up, costs of operations go up. You have to pay and cover all these things. So, teams are looking for revenue sources, whether it's inside the arena or outside it. And so why am I giving you this brief history lesson? And it's not even a very extensive one, to say the least. Is because last Friday on October 3rd, Front Office Sports published a report. Then the Dallas Morning News did a kind of companion piece where they saw the report. They did some of their own reporting. And the reports were that the Dallas Stars are considering moving away from American Airlines Center when their lease is up at the end of the in 2031. Now, Sean, we already know that the Dallas Mavericks have very much, their new ownership group have voiced their desire to build their own basketball-specific arena, new land, and the development around that with the obvious yet still not legal casino/sportsbook with that. The Dallas Stars, to this point, until this report came out, everybody assumed it was they wanted them to still be the tenant in American Airlines Center. Maybe the only one, but then they can do some things, and it's a very modern building. They keep doing renovations. There's nothing wrong with it. But this report was saying that, and Brad Alberts, the president of the Dallas Stars and CEO, basically admitted and said, we're not denying this. We've talked to Plano. We're going to look at Frisco. We're going to talk to Arlington. Heck, maybe even McKinney's in there.
The Colony.
What?
The Colony.
The Colony, right.
Yep.
So all the areas around Collin County as a possible place to build a new arena in 6 years' time. When you hear that, and my first reaction was, why would you want to leave downtown? Because they've got a good setup, and DFW is a sprawling metroplex, and travel is not easy if you don't live near downtown. I'm one of them, right? Driving down to games to our studio is not great for me. If they had put a rink in Frisco or on the border between Frisco and Plano, for my travel purposes, I would love that. There are people that like getting downtown, whether it's riding the Dart or coming from Arlington or Fort Worth, where that would probably be harder. So my first thought was, is this really what they're looking at? Which I guess they are. But is this not leverage to try to get something more out of the city of Dallas and a new lease with the AAC, maybe more money to do renovations?
Well, I think this is a key space where two things can be true, right? It can be a leverage play. Everything can be put on if you're the Stars when you're making this move, you're going to the city of Dallas and you're basically laying it out there that we are willing to move. And the investment in the land and looking into the land and everything directly, that is a real actionable piece of it. They're not bluffing. And so the end of the day, it's one of and this isn't just a Stars thing. This is a league-wide thing. The NHL is trying to find ways to juice up revenue. And as silly as it sounds, the NHL would be very much on board with a move to Plano or one of those other places with an entertainment district, because in theory, it's the Stars controlling, and they're basically no longer they're not just a tenant, they're a landlord and they're running it. And all of a sudden, that concert that's there on a Saturday night when the Stars are on the road, that goes into hockey related revenue. All of a sudden, all of the parking there goes into hockey related revenue. There are all these things that become part of the larger NHL business model if the team has full control of it, basically. And guys, like, this is not just a Stars thing. This is a sports thing in general, right? Like, look across. Sports teams are becoming more and more of content factories, more and more of pure blown businesses than just sports entities, right? Like, I think like the most famous, obviously Lutz isn't here to eye roll me, but like, think about like in soccer, right? Like a PSG or a Barcelona, right? Like
Soccer reference.
They have gone
Can't roll
above
my
and
eyes.
beyond.
Tried though.
Yeah, they have gone above and beyond the kind of just soccer business. They are in the empire building business, and so every sports team is kind of in the small empire building business. And if you can get the footprint and the entertainment district, and I guarantee you the Stars obviously will never have the cash cow that the Cowboys have, but if you're the Stars and you can go build another little entertainment district similar to what the Cowboys have built over there at the Star, all of a sudden you're looking at a lot of money. And then people will also say, well, how does this help the on ice thing and everything like that? If it becomes part of hockey related revenue, more of that, there's more money going into it. So it's a very real possibility.
That's the big one, right, Sean, is that Brad even said it. We want, I think he called it 365-degree revenue, something like that, where it's not just the arena. And as great as the AAC is with the bars that are right there and the stores and everything, that's not owned by the Dallas Stars.
No.
So to have, like, I think of Edmonton. Edmonton has that arena right there and right across the street. They have their watch parties. They have their team stores. They have a bunch of restaurants that I believe are all directly owned by the team. And it just keeps people there. You know, you go to the game at 3:00, the Stars are making money from everything you're doing until that time. And as Sean said, it's not just to make money so that they can pay, you know, Brad Alberts more money. It's to make money so that they can afford things and pay players and pay for things to do with the team. And I think that's what's missing at the AAC right now. As much as the building is great, the surrounding is what they want.
And as much as it is hard for fans to palate, you can't just continue to raise ticket prices to astronomical levels. And I say that knowing that they have raised prices, and certain people have been very upset about, oh, geez, that's paying a lot more. I don't think they should do that. And the common line is, well, the salary cap goes up and everything else does. And so from one to another, we get more and more of that. Yet there are limitations to it because the fan base will start to back off if they feel like they are paying too much, right? Yep. There's always trying to navigate a fine line between raising it so you can boost your revenues a little bit, but also not giving it away. So in doing all that, as I think we have frozen Sean there.
He's asleep.
He's been really, really steady for the last minute or so. There he goes. As you look at it, Marcus in the chat said, you know, what's wrong with the AAC? It's great. Yeah, it's not about the building, right? The building is fine. They've done some modern renovations. You know, the center hung scoreboard is new from a couple years ago. They changed out all the seats. They're planning on doing stuff with some of the suites and change, you know, to keep it as functionally operational and modern as possible. It's not about the building, because if it was just that, they'd be fine.
Yep.
It's more about, like you said, the extra things you can do around it and having more control and all those things. And that's actually something that would benefit us, because if it goes into, you know, I'm not saying I'm advocating for or against it, right? Because I'm happy with it at the AAC. I like the idea of downtown centers having your arenas. It's a collection. Otherwise, you're just pulling more and more things away.
Yep.
That being said, if the salary cap goes up because more things are going into hockey-related revenue, then guess what? Players make more. It gets more interesting, and that's always a good thing.
Yep, agreed.
Sean, you got frozen out there for a minute, so hopefully you've switched it to your strong Wi-Fi. That's become a character on our show now. But anything you want to add over the next minute or two about where this goes in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think money talks, and I have a hard time when the Stars have already gone and made the kind of effort to try to find that space. It's hard to stare at that kind of potential entertainment district they control completely as something that a path they don't go down. Especially when you know Stars owner Tom Ghilardi, he is in the hospitality hotel business. I'm sure there's a ton of opportunities he looks at for that. So it's one of those where I would expect it to happen, right? Like, we'll see how the city of Dallas pushes back on it and everything like that. I mean, honestly, not to be like funny about it, but like one of the things I can't help but wonder is, and we have a great studio right there, but like, do all of a sudden you guys get moved to Arlington? Like right now, you guys have a studio location that is close and centered to the AAC, right?
Yes.
Like that's where it's a great spot.
And for the Mavs and the Stars.
Yeah, you can't scooter
Mavs
to Arlington.
No, I certainly can't.
Yeah, so it's like, it's kind of one of those funny things where you think about what an arena and a sports team does and everything, and kind of what it brings to the life of a downtown. And I'm just thinking of a DLS studio, but all of a sudden we'll have to ask GM Ben how his lease is on through 2031. So
yeah,
that's right.
Hey, Sean, really quick, because I know we're going to get to our guest. Is it feasible to build what they want here?
Yes, I think from an arena perspective, I think there's definitely the possibility. I think you'd have to be a little bit outside the box. I think you'd have to have some creativity. Now, like one of my favorite arenas in the world is what they've done in Seattle, where they've taken, but that has a little bit of complications where there was no team that had to play in between. So could you do it in the short time for the refresh and do all of that? So I think you could, but getting a blank slate and being able to add those other things be really hard to do.
Not to mention that unlike Utah, where they had control of the building, or Seattle, where there wasn't a team there, American Airlines Center is one of the busier venues in the United States. So whether it's games or otherwise, concerts, all those things, it's hard to find a lot of time where you have dormant to do a lot of reconstruction. Not saying it needs a whole lot. All right. Much more on that as we keep an eye on it, although Front Office Sports did say that right now Plano was in the lead.
And I think they said they're going to have to make a decision in like the next 6 to 8 months, right?
Right, because again, if you want to find a place, plan and build an arena, construct it, all that stuff, that's going to take time.
This season. We
might even find something out before the end of this year. All right, we're going to talk to Conor McGahey from the Colorado Avalanche next, because the Stars are playing the Avs tomorrow, and we'll do it next here on DLLS.
But before we do all of that, let's talk about the DLS Diehard sale. Our latest Diehard sale is in full swing, and fans now have 2 ways to join. You can get in for just $36 with a limited edition shirt, or you can step up and grab a limited branded Bills Diehard hat for $59 before they sell out. It's a pretty good looking hat. Maybe you've had your eyes on one of our great t-shirts like the Finnish Mafia, the Otter shirt, maybe the 16-bit Wyatt Johnson shirt, or the Mikko Moose shirt. You had a pretty good game last night. You can pick whichever one you want as your free t-shirt when you sign up to be a Diehard. Or go bigger and get your hands on the branded Bills Diehard hat. Limited quantities available on the hats. Once they're gone, they are gone. Either way, you get all the Diehard perks. Premium content, including excellent written articles from Sam about the Stars, semi-decent articles from when I do it, really good articles from the Cowboys and Rangers, plus you get event and merch discounts. Plus, the members-only Discord, Lud's Damn Discord, and so much more. The Diehard shirt and hat sale ends this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m., so don't wait. Join now and become a Diehard at alldls.com/intro.
What if I told you guys that I am now a proud member of the YouTube Supporters Club?
Do you want to tell them how? Because you didn't pay for it.
Thanks to our guy, T.O., who gifted 5 of them last night, which we learned from T.O. that you can do. He gifted 5 random ones, and Sam Nestler somehow ended up on that list.
You were one of the 5 that was in the YouTube chat at that moment.
I have 1 month to use all of the Craig Ludwig emojis I could possibly do.
Stanley Cones, over and over again.
If you don't know what the Supporters Club is, check out your screen if you're watching right here. It's for the real ones, true sicko level stuff. You get an exclusive badge where you can show that your name pops out in the chat. You get all kinds of exclusive emojis, as we just mentioned, the Craig Ludwig, the Stanley Cone, the beer, the bing bong, the big text, the cowboy.
There's a DLLS Mavrello ball one, which is that goofy Mavs logo.
Plenty of fun to
thing.
go with the YouTube Supporters Club, so join now and take it to the next level.
I like the Stanley Cone one. That one's pretty cool.
Can't believe it made the cut. I love it.
All right. Well, let's get back to the show as we welcome in our guest today, because he is going to be hosting the Dallas Stars tomorrow personally. That's right. The force of nature brings in the Dallas Stars. Conor McGahey, who is the radio play-by-play voice of the Colorado Avalanche. Conor, I've known you for a very long time, and I don't say that as if it's a negative. It's actually an extreme positive. But
are you sure?
Maybe not. We have a lot of fun when you guys come to town. These are 2 really good hockey teams. And before I get into some of the maybe a little bit more difficult sentiments with a guy like Mikko Rantanen, let's go with a positive one. And thanks for joining us, by the way. I know we were trying to get Conor a quick behind the curtains, trying to get him on as our last guest of the other 31. When we started this idea, Conor, I circled you first. I want to hear
shucks, Owen. Thanks, buddy.
His very Avalanche-centric take on Colorado, because you and I tease each other about, like, I've listened to you in the car when the Stars were playing in Colorado, and my kids heard how excited you were on some of your calls and all that fun. But it didn't work because you were on a plane coming back and forth from LA for the season opener for the Avalanche. So
you proposed 2 different times, and literally they were both times that we were on a plane going to LA for the season opener and coming back from LA for the season opener.
It was
so
just
I had to
bad
decline
luck.
twice. I didn't want to, but
now he's driving.
No, he's parked, because unlike Sam, Connor is smart enough to keep it steady, right?
That's smart.
Yeah. All right. So Connor, happy thoughts. How much are you enjoying our very good buddy Scott Wedgwood being a Avalanche goalie right now?
I mean, Wedgie is, and you guys know, is one of the top human beings of all time. I mean, just absolutely grade A plus, top shelf. You know, it doesn't get better than Scott. He's the nicest guy and the most not goalie of all time. You know what I'm talking about? Like sometimes goalies are, they're a little out there. They're a little weird. And Scott Wedgwood is just a normal guy who will sit down and talk to you, hang out. No big deal. We have this set at Ball Arena that we've moved the altitude pregame and postgame show and intermission shows to up on club level. It used to be kind of in the bowl, but it's got this whole kind of late night show feel to it afterwards. And if the Avs win, then you bring an Avs player up and sit on the couches, and it's a live audience. Like anybody from the arena, even if you don't have a club level ticket, can come in there and watch a show. It's great atmosphere. And he came in last night and was an absolute natural star of the show. Avs don't win that game last night without Scott Wedgwood, by the way. But I even said with Eric Johnson on the call last night, which was a nice treat. And by the way, Eric Johnson, who retired earlier this week, hopped on as an analyst with me, and Jack Drury was our first intermission interview. And the first thing Jack says to Eric Johnson said, "You're in the booth already?" But anyhow, like he was a star of the show. And the Avs have two number one goaltenders. They have Mackenzie Blackwood and they have Scott Wedgwood, and that's a good thing because Blackwood has gone through some injuries, but Wedgwood. I can't believe that Nashville parted with him for what they did, because it's been a massive upgrade for the Avs.
Connor, you just mentioned it. What's the update for Blackwood? How long is this Scott Wedgwood's net?
He was on the ice taking shots at morning skate yesterday, Blackwood was. So Jared Bednar won't give a specific time, but usually when that's the case for goalies, they're getting close. So I don't know if that's next week sometime. I don't know if it's the week after, but the initial assessment from camp is that he wasn't going to miss the entire month of October. So, but I would probably say, obviously tomorrow versus Dallas, and then we go to Buffalo, 2 days off Columbus. So you don't have a back-to-back scenario until mid-November almost, I want to say, for Colorado, which is good. So, so that means the Blackwood can take as long as he needs to heal. But initially it said it wouldn't be the entire month of October.
Hey, Connor, I wanted to, one of the things that was kind of cool this week, just from an Avalanche perspective, I think it was either opening night or the second game. I think Nate McKinnon becomes the all-time points leader for the franchise since he moved from Colorado. As someone who's gotten to call basically his entire career and kind of watched him do that, what do you take most from kind of watching him play? Because for me, just from a physical specimen watching him play, he's one of the most entertaining guys to watch on a shift-to-shift basis. So, like, what do you watch?
I watch, frankly, obviously everyone talks about his speed, and he's blazing fast. If you're ever rinkside, you can watch on TV and you can tell that, okay, that guy has, that's a 25-mile-an-hour man right there. But until you get up close, you kind of have no idea. And everyone talks about that all the time, but he is so strong. Upper body, lower body, the strength of Nathan McKinnon. He's an absolute mule. And I don't think anyone talks about that enough. And the way that he plays, a physical style, he actually is tough to defend. He can hit you if he wants. Just ask Romanov from the New York Islanders last year. If you go back and look at that hit, Romanov thought he was going to come in and get Nathan McKinnon, but McKinnon went all Peter Forsberg and reversed hitted him, and it was fantastic. But what I've liked about McKinnon, because I worked in game ops when he was first drafted, number one overall back. It's 12 years ago now, which is crazy. We're all old. But I've liked to watch the maturity of Nathan McKinnon, and it's gotten better ever since 2021. Remember when the Avalanche lose 4 in a row to Vegas, and McKinnon very infamously in that press conference says, "I haven't won S yet," right? And from then on, I think he realized that, you have to have the work, you have to have the maturity, and that has been the biggest piece of growth for Nathan McKinnon over his career. And now, he that's 3 straight 100-point seasons for him. Joe Sakic never did that. Peter Forsberg never did that, which is amazing to me. And for him to become the all-time leading scorer in Avalanche-only history, Joe Sakic had over 600 points with the Quebec Nordiques, by the way. But going into that game in LA on Tuesday night, Joe Sakic and Nathan MacKinnon had played the exact same amount of games and had the exact same amount of points in an Avalanche sweater, which was Twilight Zone stuff. And Nathan MacKinnon gets 2 assists to go ahead and become the all-time leading scorer in Avalanche-only history. But it's to have 2 guys like that in a 30-year span, and this is the 30th year of the Colorado Avalanche, is beyond lucky for fans here. But MacKinnon, to answer your question in a very long way, I think his maturity has been the biggest piece of growth for him.
All right, that leads us really nicely into Mikko Rantanen, and obviously it wasn't very long before you had Mikko back in Denver last year after he was traded to Dallas, right? Obviously, you have the Carolina trade, then the deadline move to Dallas, and then shortly thereafter, here he is going back to Denver. But then you have the playoffs, and what happened in Game 7, of course, has to still. We talked about it with Corey Masisak the other day, and how much that still
Is there a
lingers
hang-up
bit.
feature on this that I can press? Right now?
My question is, what was your perspective of watching that Game 7? Because that's your guy. You won a Stanley Cup with that guy, and then you watched him be the single-handedly the one that you know, to quote Jack Edwards, took the dagger and stabbed the heart.
Yeah, I mean, the first goal is nice. I mean, the Avalanche had, frankly, the entire game in Game 7 had not given any gaps to anybody. It reminded me, frankly, of Game 6 in 2022 when they had won the Cup. And Tampa got a goal, but that was pretty much the only chance that they had all game. And the Avalanche played the most perfect third period in the history of hockey to solidify the Stanley Cup in 2022. I was feeling like that a lot in the first 2 and 8 minutes periods of game number 7, and the Avalanche had done that. But all of a sudden, you give a little bit of a gap to Mikko Rantanen. It's a nice goal for his first. The second one, he's trying to wrap around. It actually rolls off the toe of his stick, goes off Sam Girard and goes in. Not the most glorious goal of all time. It takes a little bit of luck, and then the third one is an empty netter. So it had a touch of destiny to it, unfortunately. And I just think that when you feel things changing in the arena, everybody else feels it too. And the first goal had that feeling of changing things. And like I said, the second one, very lucky. He would probably tell you the same thing. And the third one is an empty netter to seal the deal. So I think it's just one mistake, and that's Ryan Lindgren giving a little bit too much space to Mikko Rantanen to shoot. And nothing that Mackenzie Blackwood could do about it. But that really started it off. And it wasn't the end that I would have chosen. I probably would have chosen any other end possible.
What do you think the reception for Mikko is going to be tomorrow night in Denver?
I think people have gotten over it. I think that we've had a couple returns to Ball Arena now, both in the regular season and in the postseason. And he was still pretty beloved when he was here, but it's still, and I say this with everything, it's how you handle your business, right? And I think it still may come across as I don't want to say it's not selfish. It's just, I think when you play with superstars, that's what makes this tough, because Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar are as superstar as it get, right? So Mikko Rantanen is always going to come in third on that list, and that's what makes the Avalanche cap situation tough right now. If this happens in 2 years, right, when the cap is very much extended, it may not be that much of a conversation, but because of the timing, it was tough. I think there's some people who understand that. There's some people who will be like, okay, well, you're out of my life now. You've moved on. You're with my ex, which isn't great. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag, but I'm not sure it's going to be quite Matt Duchene getting booed every time he touches the puck when he comes to Ball Arena. But we'll see tomorrow if and how many people have turned the page.
I have like 30 more questions, and we have 2 minutes more. Either one of you want to grab one, or should I?
I got nowhere to be today, so
I've got one. Somewhat.
All right, go for it, Sean.
When I flipped on the game last night, it's still always going to be a little bit weird for me to see Brent Burns playing for the Avalanche, and I think he played 21-30, something like that last night. When is that kind of with him this year, obviously we know with Taves and Makar, they're gonna carry the water for most of everything. But is that kind of what Brent's role is going to be? Like, how do you kind of see what role he's gonna play at this stage in his career on this team with the Avs now?
John, first of all, it's impressive that you're coming to us from the moon with that connection. It's very good. So appreciate that. But I mean, Brent Burns, personality-wise, I mean, he's the type of guy, and I joked with him the first time I met him, which was at our charity golf tournament to start camp this season. I said, I'm going to have to, it took me about 8 seconds to not hate you from 20 years of hating you, both at Minnesota and with the San Jose Sharks, because everyone just loves him. The second he walks into a room, he just holds court. He's one of the best dudes out there. And he's 40 years old, but he doesn't act like he's 40. He doesn't play like he's 40 years old. I mean, I'm 40 years old, and I could not play, 8 minutes out there, plus, much less 20 and some hard minutes on the penalty kill. And that has really, because usually top PK unit has actually been Cale Makar time. Part of a huge reason that, in case there's any doubt that Cale Makar would be a perennial Norris Trophy finalist, he was out there killing penalties. So he was doing everything that a defenseman should do. But, now with Brent Burns coming in, he's able to take some of those minutes out, and that actually helps Cale Makar rest and be active for 5-on-5 for the power play. And it's something that he excels at. Getting shots from the point. He's one of the best of the National Hockey League. He's a smart defender. So I just think that having a guy like that pretty much in your third D pairing it is nothing but a benefit for the Colorado Avalanche. He had choices of places to go, but he hasn't won a cup yet, and he chose to come to Colorado, and he's been an instant fit and an instant hit in the Avs locker room.
Connor, I knew that this would be an easy one, and we'll have to do it again because we have way too many things that we didn't touch on. But the Broncos beat the Eagles last week, and the Avs are 2-0, so it can't be all that bad in Denver. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us today.
Could be worse. Could be in Philadelphia where you lost all 3 yesterday. It's tough living.
I love it.
Thanks,
there
Connor.
he goes. Thank you, Connor. Connor McGahey, the play-by-play radio voice of the Colorado Avalanche, and we'll talk so much more about them tomorrow, pre-game, the game, then post-game show. Should be fun, but we have a lot more to get to, including at least one super chat next here on DLLS.
If you never want to miss what happens here at DLS, you should sign up for our newsletter because guess what? It's free. Free. That's $0.
That means you don't have to pay
You don't
for
pay
it.
anything. All you have to do is click a button. You go to alldls.com/newsletter and you click. I think you type in your email and you click the button. That's it. That's all
Nice
it
to
takes.
see the Stars getting top billing on the newsletter yesterday.
I get the headline.
Yeah.
The headline. I think people are sick of hearing about the Cowboys, but that's just me. But if you really want to check it out and you're not sure if you want to do it yet, you go down to that same page, alldls.com/newsletter, and you can click the button that says check it out. And the whole list of our boy Ali's newsletters are right there for you. So you can see what they're all about. Guys, it's really cool. It gives you what happened on the show, what kind of guests did they have in the studio, what ridiculous articles are Sean and Sam writing or something from one of the other teams. Everything is laid out for you in one place, makes it really easy, and it's delivered right to your inbox 5 days a week. alldls.com/newsletter. Go sign up right now.
All right, let's talk about two things. One, DLS Stars Takeover. Let's ask us last night, why are you guys talking about it? It's already sold out. Why? Well, we're kind of spiking the football a little bit.
Yeah, we're bragging.
But we're also trying to let you know, and boy, trying to convince Luds that this made sense was not easy, folks, and you know this. We want people to see some extra value of being a diehard, because if you sign up to be a diehard, you got early access to the DLS Stars Takeover ticket offer, and most of our diehards jumped on that quickly, and so there were only a few when we announced it publicly. So that's why you sign up to be a diehard. That point was kind of lost on our 2-time Stanley Cup champion, but that's okay. That's not why he's here. Most of them are. But we also have a ball knower bonus. If you're the diehard, you get 20% off merch. Go in there and spend $25 or to up to $250 in merchandise. Pick this week. That's why it's a big one. There's some other ones there too. Cowboys versus Panthers. If you get it right, you get a gift card for the same amount you spent. So that's literally doubling your money. You get a little extra because you get the diehard discount. It all makes sense. And by the way, The Diehard sale ends Sunday night, as Sean said in the last one, at 11:59 p.m. So you only have a couple more days to get either the $36 sale or the $59 with the DLS branded Bills hat. Okay, before we get to this super chat and some final talking points, Sean, the chat has been very much admiring your Detroit Tigers hat, and they want to know where you got it, what exactly it is.
I just bought it at a store at a. But it's a new era. It's a new era hat. If people are looking for the brand, and I think they've made other black tan versions for other MLB teams too. So yeah, but Tarek Skubal pitches tonight against Seattle. So I would. That's the only benefit of there being segue, Owen. That's the only benefit of no NHL games tonight. 8:08 first pitch.
Good point.
Detroit and Seattle. I can watch the baseball game.
We'll get to that, but we have a super chat first. Then I'll let you rant about that. So go ahead and hit that super chat, Ryan.
Bing bong.
Chlorotis with a Lundqvist Rantanen. Sam and Owen check the Discord. Need to get McGahey's perspective on his call from Game 7 of the Drury penalty and Wyatt Johnston's series-clinching goal. I saw this when we were talking to Connor, and I thought, okay, first of all, it's going to take too much time to pull that up. Secondly, I don't know if I want to ambush a good friend with his very passionate calls, because Connor is very much an Avalanche broadcaster when he does his radio calls. And I've been next to him in the booth at American Airlines Center when things have not gone well, and he feels it, lives and breathes it. So we'll have to pull that up, take a look, and then maybe we can even talk about that tomorrow, Sam, during the pre or post game show, because I know you're going to be in Denver, but we'll get to that. So thank you, Chlorotis, for that super chat. All right, couple of talking points. Let's start with the rant. Sean, you just mentioned it. There are no NHL games tonight. There were 14 games last night in the league, and there will be a full slate of 16 games tomorrow night, but 0 on the first Friday of the NHL regular season.
It's incredible scheduling. Well done. I mean, I just can't believe how anyone could have thought this was a good idea. I mean, the only reason that it makes any sense is maybe the entire league thought Sam needed a travel day to get to Denver just in case, which is
you're not going to miss any games tonight.
That's probably it.
Yeah. You should probably get going right now, Sam. So
where will Sam be tomorrow?
The fact that we had to, I understand the league wanting to have 16 games on the first Saturday. That's fun. Everyone's playing, everything like that. But you didn't need to do 14 on Thursday, right? You could have taken at least 2. You could have at least taken.
And how many teams played, Sean, back-to-backs to start the season? That seems nuts.
Or here's the other thing. Montreal has. I was talking to some of the media members from the Canadiens yesterday. Montreal's got a 3 and 4 to start the season, and so they went Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. They could have played again. They could have played on Friday. If you're going to force them to do a back to back, anyway, might as well do it Friday and get us it's a classic example of how often the NHL gets in its own way when it comes to certain marketing to approach it. And I'm not saying you needed a 5, 6, 7 game schedule tonight. Just 2 or 3 games. Just give me one
early, one late.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of do that and make it so people can follow this momentum, because it's.
Well, at least you get to watch baseball unbothered by. But I know, but from an NHL perspective, that's a miss.
No, but you as a league and as an entity, really, as a sport, you should be able to live in your own vacuum and be like, hey, you're an NHL fan. There should be NHL games from October 6th through basically there. You should never go a day without an NHL game between October 6th and April 20th or whatever it is, right?
Minus their Christmas break, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good point. But that should be something as a brand, as a entity, or whatever.
There's always a game.
There should always be a game. You should always be able. Someone should be. I guarantee you, there's somebody somewhere who watched hockey last night and said, "You know what? This is pretty damn cool. I've got nothing to do Friday night. I'll watch another game." And now they can't. And I just think there's momentum that you need to build on as a league, and the league just always finds ways to give itself stumbling blocks that it just puts in itself. So I don't understand it. It's whatever.
Yeah, I used to work at the NHL league office, and the games, the nights where they had 14, 13, even the 16s were a lot of fun, right? You got a lot going on. It's busy. There's 4 games at the same time on one TV. It was chaos. And while you don't need to do that every night, you can't do that every night. The fact that they then have 0 or 1 on a Friday night or a Sunday night or whatever it is, Sean said it perfectly. And the other way of looking at it is you have baseball, you have football, there's other sports, college football. You put yourself in a spot where someone says, do I want to watch baseball or hockey or both?
Right.
You've taken that out of the equation. Now people who would have chosen hockey 100%, like me, who don't watch baseball, or people who are in between and maybe say, I want to watch some of each, now go, okay, the only thing on is this baseball game. That's what I'm going to settle on. And then, as Sean pointed out, maybe a week from now, they're not even looking to see if there's a hockey game on because I'm just going to watch baseball. There's probably not even any hockey on tonight. I think it's the stupidest thing in the whole world.
All right, rapid fire here, guys. We got very few minutes.
Real quick.
Hold on. Here we go. Go ahead.
Well, we got another. I was just going to say, is there, like, I know baseball, other than the day before and after the All-Star game, that's the only day without a game in the baseball season, right?
Yes.
I don't know how the NBA works on that, but you could ask one of our NBA guys on that. But like these sports that play these 82 plus 162 game schedules, you should have a game every day during your season. That's what you should do.
I agree with that.
In the first week of the year.
All right, rapid fire here. The LA Kings debuted a alternate jersey on their home opener against the Colorado Avalanche on Tuesday night with a little switcheroo move that drew a lot of positive support. They came out in their normal home jerseys, which they went back to the Chevrolet-looking logo last year. There's Anze Kopitar. And then after the warm-up, they came out and wore these. And I'm not here to say whether you like the jerseys or not. I actually think they look great. I know that there were a lot of people, including some on the show, that did not like the silver helmets, especially on TV versus just a still shot. But the execution of the surprise was pretty cool. Well, last night, we had it again because the Pittsburgh Penguins came out in their home black jerseys with yellow trim. And then for the game, they went with their new all-yellow alternates.
The yellow helmet should have given it away there, right?
Because the Kings did not – they had different helmets.
Yeah.
They had different socks. Sean actually went and looked at that. They did wear their other socks. These guys, I mean, so, okay, fine, you copied them. But now Colorado tweets this out today. Sean found this on Twitter, but right before the show. And look, we love the Nordiques. That's their history. They don't have a third jersey with the Nordiques logo, but it sure looks like after breezers on the pants and some other accoutrements, this is on the way. Are we going to start seeing the whole league do this?
Well, I mean, is it safe to assume that there's a higher than 0 chance that we're watching a game where the Avalanche are wearing Nordiques jerseys tomorrow night? I mean, that seems to be.
But it's not their home opener, but it's possible.
I mean, but they already did their home opener, so like
right.
If you're gonna break in a jersey at some point, right? Like do it on Saturday night against a divisional rival. So, which I guess the big question this brings us back to for all three of us, because it's been I enjoy how Brad has been just trying to be very coy about everything in his best possible way, but we all kind of it's the whole like poorly kept secret of. Some point, sometime, somewhere, there will be a third Stars jersey that people can spend money on. And so is it going to be when Joe Pavelski, ding, goes to step up and drop the ceremonial face-off on Tuesday night? Is he going to be wearing a black? Is he? Yep. I mean, that's my
that
prediction.
actually is better than if they just copied the Kings
players
and
would
Penguins.
already be out as well.
Because the Kings did it was cool. The Penguins did it. You go, oh, okay, but they already did that. If anybody else does it, it turns into the lame category.
Colorado comes out tomorrow in their Nordiques, and the Stars unveil their third jersey on the road in Denver.
Oh, that would be
against
awful.
each other.
I like the idea of having Pavelski coming out with like a new jersey and surprising.
Pretty cool, yeah.
That would be actually a really cool way to unveil
and then
it.
all the players change on the ice, Mighty Duck style.
You don't need to do that. We already did it.
Oh yeah.
We only need to do that once, right?
Fair,
don't do this the whole league. There's the bell. We were waiting for it. We don't have time to do the wild ending to the San Jose Vegas game. That was crazy. Maybe we'll save those and show it in the pregame tomorrow because it's nuts. Check out my Twitter feed if you haven't, because the videos of the tying and winning goals for the Golden Knights is something else. And then Jonathan Drouin was suspended 1 game for cross-checking Connor Dewar last night. It's a cross-check to the face. It deserved it. Pregame show tomorrow night, 7:30. Avs and Stars at 8. Sam will be in Denver, we hope. Luds will be remote. Actually, we're going to do a StreamYard broadcast, so we'll all be remote. Big thank you to Conor McGahey, for Sean, for Sam. I'm Owen, of course, for Ryan.
65
see you tomorrow
degrees
night.
in Denver,
Game
baby.
2.
Hi, I can say slut.
We all silly like the mayor.